Hello, good morning, good morning. Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? Excited, yes. This is the last session of the morning before we break, so I am excited to be in here with you guys. My name is Tashara Brown. I am the Community Engagement Manager at Charlotte Works, and as you know, we are the Workforce Development Board here from Mecklenburg County. I am happy to introduce today's panel for the Connecting the Dots, the role of community partnership in workforce development. Moderating the panel, we have Sheena Ashley. Sheena is the Director of Workforce Career Development here at CPCC. Her areas of expertise include facilitating training, workforce strategies, program implementation, and career guidance. And again, she will be our moderator for today. Next, we have Jeff Glenn. Jeff Glenn represents Charlotte Rescue Mission as the Faith Relations Coordinator. He brings decades of experience working nonprofit organizations and innovative partnerships. Next, we have Nori Maldonado. Oh, I got that right, yes. Nori is the program manager for Camino. Her background is in business administration. She has 25 years of experience in management positions and entrepreneur programs in Ecuador. She made Charlotte her home in 2019, and since she has been working with different organizations supporting the Latino community. And last but not least, we have Tiffany Capers of Crossroads Corporation. Crossroads Corporation, she works for Affordable Housing and Economic Development, where she serves as its executive director. With over 25 years of experience, she has spent much of her career advocating for and bringing marginalized voices to center. So if you all can give a warm welcome to our panelists.
Well, thank you all for coming to our session today. Hopefully this will be enriching to you and will gain value. And I definitely want to have some time for us as we get near the end to have questions and answers. So be thinking of anything you would like to ask the panelists or have them speak on, and we will give that opportunity. So thank you to each of you for being here today. Our first thing that we want to talk about today is how are our faith-based organizations integrating workforce development into their missions and programming. So any of our panelists that wants to take the lead and tell us a little bit about that? Thank you,
I
Nori.
will start. So, hello, good morning. Based in our research institute to 2022 Latino Community Strengths and Needs Assessment we did, Latinos, when we have a problem, we always go to the church. And that is something important we try to take advantage. So we develop all our programs based in the need of the community. What is needed for our community? To break language barriers, transportation barriers, and employment. That is something that we really need to help them develop. That's why we have a program at Camino. This program is called Arriba. We help with employment and education. Other thing that we got from the Latino Strengths is that 52% of the Latinos, we are entrepreneurs. So we have a wonderful program in Spanish at our community center. We just graduated yesterday, 50 people. It was amazing thank you so much, with beautiful prices, and it was really, really nice.
Excellent, thank you. Yeah, Tiffany, you have, yeah.
Hi, everyone. Thank you all for being here, and the panel and I know that we stand between you and lunch, so we will make this as engaging as possible. Crossroads Corporation for Affordable Housing and Community Development is a faith-founded nonprofit, and we know that faith without works is what? Dead. So people living in impoverished situations need work. They need employment. They need to have living wage occupations. And while I am building affordable housing, I know that I also need to be building the community in which we work. And building the community means ensuring that people in Greer Heights have an opportunity to learn living wages. So we've created career pathway programs in the community, focusing right now principally on construction trades, making sure that folks have an opportunity to earn income from that particular sector, because there's just a little bit of construction going on in Charlotte, just a little. So making sure that people can take advantage of those opportunities is what's really, really very important. The annual median income in Greer Heights is, guess what? Less than $19,000 a year.
You were pretty close. Gold star.
$18,440 per the Quality of Life Index is the annual median income. So that means there's a range, people below, people above. But that's what people are living off of, if you will, in Greer Heights. If anyone has children in daycare, you know that's probably getting close to having 2 kids in daycare. So making sure that we are improving the employability of our neighbors is really, really very important, because I want them to be able to buy the houses that we're building. The median income for Charlotte as of June 2023, it'll change again, probably in 30 days, was close to $70,000. There's probably a lot of people who work in nonprofit spaces who aren't making $70,000. So a lot of people who are, quote unquote, helping people need help themselves. So making sure that there are pathways for workforce development even within organizations is also very important. I'll stop.
That's great. Appreciate it. I'm Jeff from the Charlotte Rescue Mission. Been there since 2013. Prior to that, I served 18 years with the YMCA, mostly in executive management. So through the years, I've taken in and hopefully remembered a lot of information around what is it actually that the organization is doing? Is the business organization nonprofit known for what it does or who it is? And that's critical as it relates to the culture of the business or nonprofit organization up and down. And so as I reviewed the information, I was very interested in understanding the words or phrases that were used. And one of the things is making sure we're all on the same page regarding workforce development. What actually is that? And at the mission and YMCA, we worked hard to make sure and understand causes versus symptoms of how the business runs. And God wants us to do that as well in our life. I have a master's in biblical counseling, which is essentially focused on going deeper with issues, strengths and weaknesses in the business or the organization. Is there a common success structure, or is it based on top level and then go down, or is the entire business focused on a structure of success and measuring and understanding what success actually is? The younger population, what is it that stokes their desires and what they're actually after? And I know that in the commentaries I read, young folks want to work for or be called to a business or organization that cares, they are not interested in jobs. They're interested in vocations, which is interesting. And so when we had a meeting understanding the differences between community organization and or faith-based organizations, what's the difference? Do they have similar objectives and the way they operate? Absolutely. But what separates a faith-based organization from a community organization? I think that's important to understand. Other things that are important are DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion processes, values-based leadership from top down. Values-based leadership. Communication focused. Is it clear? Is it comprehensive? Is it all inclusive? All of these things go into a faith-based organization because our God is excellent. He wants us to be excellent at what we do. That's important. Is work and personal balance a part of the organization? Does the business or nonprofit seek and on purpose unlock capacity and ownership? Are all involved in the structure and decision-making process? That's important. And lastly, one of the things we do is we have entered into a partnership with a pastoral care for employees. So that's coming up.
Absolutely. Thank you. And many points, obviously, where the faith community is intersecting with our workforce development efforts. The next thing we want to talk a little bit more is community partnerships. And just looking around the room, I know many of you are essential to some of those community partnerships that we have, whether that's from workforce development angle, from a nonprofit organization, or from a corporation, and the work and impact that you have. So I want to talk a little bit about what are the ways that organizations can forge community partnerships to impact employment outcomes. So at the end of the day, a big part of workforce development is employment, moving people towards family-sustaining careers. So any of our panelists that want to speak on that?
Nori.
All right.
Yes, so I want to share with you some statistics maybe you don't know. The Latino population has more than quadrupled over the past 4 decades. The Latino population is projected to make up almost 1/3 of the US population by 2050. From 2010 to 2019, over 9 million Latinos were born in the US. Latinos are the youngest racial or ethnic minority group in the US. And this is important. The most common age of Latinos is 11, which is more than 5 times lower than the most common age of non-Latino white Americans, which is 58. The median age of Latinos in the US is 30. Almost 40% of Latinos in the US are Gen Z and younger. Latinos contribute $2.7 trillion to the US economy and hold more than $781 billion in spending power. So when we are talking about ways to partner with the community, I have to ask for this. We need all kind of help. It's not just related to workforce, it's also related to help us to increase our skills, our education. We need mentors. Everybody come to my office and ask me, hey, we can do something together. Let's partner. And I say, okay, you offer programs in Spanish? No. You serve undercover communities? No. 9 million of people, Latinos, are here. They are not going back. They all will stay here. So we need programs, we need help.
Let me do a check really quickly. In terms of the audience, who would be considered the employers in the room? Everyone here? Just curious. So in terms of what Crossroads does, we are called a community quarterback organization. We only serve the Greer Heights community, which, for those of you who might not be from Charlotte, is a historic Black community that was founded by a former enslaved Black man by the name of Sam Billings. He was the first Black man in Mecklenburg County to buy property, over 100 acres of land. So it's a very historic community, very proud community. There's some legacy families that still live in the community. So that is the community that I happen to be honored to serve. So with respect to partnerships, Crossroads provides some direct services, but a lot of what we do is try to build a network of providers to meet the needs of the community. And we identify those needs across a spectrum. It's multifaceted. No one of us needs just one thing. We don't have to choose, I'll take food today, but I won't have a house, or I'll take a house today, but I won't have a job, or maybe I'll get health care today, but I won't go to work. We all need various aspects of our life to be in sync in order to have the quality of life that we deserve and that our neighbors deserve as well. So partnerships for us looks like being willing to partner, which means you might have to come into Greer Heights and deliver programs and services to Greer Heights that you might not deliver to communities in West Charlotte or communities on the east side. Being a place-based initiative means you honor the place and you try to bring to the place what the place needs. So as employers, probably be curious. Come in with some questions, but what is it that you need and how can we think about what we're doing to meet the needs of your community? Help us understand the positions that require less than a college degree. 9 to 11% of residents in Greer Heights have a college degree. So we're looking for those entry point positions where people can get their feet in the door, learn and grow. Be persistent. Don't just come to one job fair. You have to come to multiple job fairs. And if you come to one, you might not get the traffic you're anticipating. Be persistent. Hang in there with us. Keep coming. Come again, come again, come again. And then have perspective, to Nori's point. Understanding that for persons who have experienced generational poverty, that poverty is traumatic. And people who are experiencing trauma oftentimes operate from fight, flight, freeze, or fawn is the one I heard recently. So if you are employing a person from a community where they have experienced poverty, abject poverty, generations of poverty, there may be some additional skill building that employee needs, that your onboarding, that your HR, that your hiring process needs to contemplate as well. They may or may not have had the life experiences to cultivate, how do I deal with conflict? How do I interact with someone who, for them, feels as though they're being demeaning? How do they have crucial, critical conversations? How do they advocate for themselves? There might be a whole set of skills that we take for granted based on how we've been socialized, quite honestly, that persons who've not had those experiences may need. So if you really are interested in partnering with nonprofits like Crossroads to serve communities that Crossroads serves, I would also just encourage you to be more curious than certain and come in asking more questions before we start getting to answers.
That's great. I work with 127 churches, and it's usually interesting when I go to the church and talk about or mention partnership. Now, with most of the churches, for them, because partnership is two-way, what can they do for the Charlotte Rescue Mission, and what can we do for them? And so that's a key issue with regard to developing relationships. And that's the key. One of the keys is the business set up and structured to develop relationships from top down. And the second thing I'll mention It's the question focused on employment outcomes. What sort of outcomes? Is it business focused or is it personal per employee focused? How is the culture set up to do that? The strong YMCA branches and the mission make sure that all of our operation is certainly focused on financial and goal-oriented outcomes, but also for the personal and individual employee. That's important.
Absolutely. All right. And you guys have gotten to be quiet so far. I'm going to bring you guys in a little bit. We've got a little thing we're going to talk about at our tables for just a moment on this next one here. What is needed to develop trust that supports our evolving workforce community needs? So everyone in this room is a part of our community. I want you guys to take 3 to 4 minutes at your table. First, say hello to each other if you don't know each other, and then talk for just a minute about what is needed to develop trust that supports the evolving workforce community needs. And we're also going to hear from our folks up here as well, but I want you guys to talk to each other a little bit. Not 5. I was like, oh no. We're good.
Everybody knows that. There you are. Yes. So do you have any location that was or is this the same location? Okay. Good deal. There's a church. Yes. Okay. How many communities are in the university area?
All right, 1 more minute.
How far north? You have folks like Salisbury.
All right, thank you guys. Come on back, finish that last sentence. All right, I heard some wonderful reflections in the room, and I know we could probably stay with that for a while. I do want to hear from our panelists a little bit, your reflections on trust. What is needed? All right, y'all, come on back. Come on back. Come on back. Come on back. All right, excellent. What is needed to develop trust that supports our evolving workforce community needs? And so now we'll take that to our panel up here to hear you guys' reflections. Heard some wonderful conversation in the room.
I'll start real quick and I spent the most time on this. because trust is something I deal with in my life. And personal stories tend to dictate how you view a situation. So I'm going to run through words, and if you write them down, that's fine, I'll have them. But look into these words, which will facilitate you looking more into how you do your work. Faith-based, developing trust is excellence, morally and ethically correct, value-centered, wise and discerning, integrity or oneness, committed, persevering, generous, other-centered, servant leadership, principled, seeks to plant seeds, empathetic, vulnerable, open, willing to listen, altruistic, which is unselfish regard for or devotion to the welfare of others, transparent, subsidiary, functions performed by the subordinate employees in a structure that belong more properly to them than to the corporate leadership. In other words, empowerment. God empowers us, so he wants us to focus on that in our workplace. And again, all back to developing relationships, and that's the key.
So if we are talking about trust, I think we have the trust from the community, from the Latino community. It's because we are 25 years in Charlotte. We start with a small clinic, and we always listen to our community. So all the programs we have is based in the community needs. We speak Spanish, so if everyone goes to our location, we speak Spanish. We all are bilinguals. We have programs to help them to learn the language, but the problem is when you don't have a car to go to the center and learn something new, that's a problem. When you don't have food, when you have 20 people living in your house, sleeping in the couch is difficult to go to classes and focus on that. Other thing that we have is the trust from companies. We have been working with them through these years. 82 companies work with us, help us to place people in jobs. In this program, Arriba, my program, we have 2 years working on that. We receive almost 3,000 people in my office. We place 300 people in job opportunities, long-term, full-time, with successful stories. So I'm very proud of that because we are trying to build a new life here because that is the American dream, right? So we are coming here thinking about to get some things that we cannot get at our countries. And the thing is we have 2 families, one here and one over there. So half of my salary is going to my sick mom. So that is something that happened a lot in our communities. And we have the trust, and I think you have to trust in us. We need, as I told you, we need help. We need employers who want to hire people from our community. I have, as I told you, 3,000 people looking for a job. The experience with all the employers is outstanding with our workforce. So please help us to spread the word about what we are doing. And also we need programs in Spanish. So if you have any kind of contact with community, so please help us to uplift this community.
So this is probably going to break the panelist rule. So I'm going
Hey,
to
you do what you want.
I'm going to apologize in advance. I have a question about the question.
Okay.
It's packed with a lot. And my orientation generally, I'm kind of a curious person, is to sort of start with inquiry. What's needed to develop trust that supports evolving workforce community needs? Well, what broke the trust? Broken between whom? Evolving community needs, evolving from what to what. So there's a lot of questions I would ask about the question. So generally speaking, I think to build trust is probably, again, starting with inquiry and trying to get a better understanding of what is, so we can begin to co-create what we want to come next or what we want to be true going forward. I think there's also, it has to be space and room for sort of truth and reconciliation. I think a lot of what we end up doing in a variety of spaces and places is not starting with, if not shared agreement, shared understanding of what has happened, what has transacted. There are some things that are just truth. It just is. It's objective, it's data, it's just factual. So starting with truth, I think, is a good place to build trust. And then being consistent and making sure words align with actions. I've often said in other spaces and places that it's very rare that we don't have the skill to do what we know to do. Some of this is just not that challenging. It's just not that hard. It's not a skill issue. It's probably more of a will issue. And figuring out what it is we're trying to solve and then identifying the solution for that, I think, would be helpful if we're trying to reestablish trust.
I agree. I think we could probably stay a whole day on this question, but yeah, finding that true north and then building trust from there, central to it, and yeah, an ever-evolving thing. We're going to go kind of to our lightning round here, panelists, with our last couple questions. How would you say, this is our kind of call to action, and can employers and philanthropic leaders get involved in workforce development efforts? Got some ideas?
Yeah.
So I'm looking for something. We have a lot of ideas, but this is a different culture, right? So we have to adapt our community to this culture. We need to know about the soft skills in this new environment, but I'm looking for a program about that. There's no program in the Spanish. Other thing we need is education, language barrier. We need to do something more. I know that CPCC offers programs in English, but this is from level 1 to 6. But after that, there's no advanced studies. And what happened? If I'm taking a course at CPCC and I'm leaving the course at level 6, intermediate, I'm going to the workforce. All my coworkers are Latinos. We are speaking Spanish all day. It is difficult. I have to study every day till today, and I'm still struggling. But I have to do it. If not, I'm losing my English because at my job, I'm speaking Spanish all day. So that is something we have to do. And I think CPCC received the same students after a year, and they are going back to start again. I think we need a program with advanced English in this city for any community. Other thing we need a lot is mentors. When I have conversation with people, they say, oh, we would love to have Latinos in our workforce. But when I send people to the interview, they told me, oh, they don't speak English enough. Okay, sit with them. Just, is it something that, I am also a Spanish teacher. And a lot of my students said, oh, I would love to have someone to practice my Spanish. And I say, okay, you have a coworker, a Latino coworker, sit with them, mentor them, and they will teach you Spanish. We come from a very educated community, especially in South America. We are very competitive. All my friends are post-PhD because we have few jobs opportunities and a lot of need. So we need to take that advantage. As a country, we don't have to spend money in that cost of educating these people. We are already educated. What we need is just the language. I can be a mentor for you, you can be a mentor for me.
Absolutely.
I think sorry, just one thing. There's no programs in Spanish, and remember, we are the most growing community here, and there's no program in Spanish. So think about this. Think about our community in 20 years, uneducated, without employment, without skills. That's where the crime will rise.
Yeah. And I did want to say with Spanish language programming at the college, we have, we're working on community health worker in Spanish right now, and then we have our early childhood in Spanish with a goal of having the full associate's degree available in Spanish here in the coming year, and looking at 3 or 4 other ones to get up and going. So we're moving in that direction, yes. But it's much needed, and probably a little slower than we would love to have. Any other reflections on that one?
Real quick, spend time with those who you work with across the board, employees, partnerships, spend time with. Understand the core focus of what the organization or nonprofit is all about. I mentioned all of the churches I work with, and because the church congregations change, obviously, the church in general doesn't understand the scope, depth, and impact of what we do. So make sure to spend time doing that. And I'll mention again, with all of what you hear at this entire seminar, make sure, go back and do something with it. Make sure to put measured goals in place, benchmarks, annual goals. Make those things happen so you just don't go to a seminar and go home, put it on a shelf. Use it.
Just to echo Jeff's comment, certainly what gets measured gets done. So if it's somehow tracked or incentivized, that might be an additional motivation for some of these actions to take place. But I have probably even a simpler response based on my colleagues' comments. Yeah, just do something. Do what you can. Oftentimes we come to these conversations and we get a few new nuggets, a few new ideas, a few new insights. But there's probably not a whole lot that has been said today that we probably didn't already know. It is just a matter of getting it done and maybe asking, like, well, why haven't we done that? If we want to hire more Spanish-speaking people and we haven't, well, why? Why haven't we? Why haven't we found those candidates? Why haven't we employed them? It's really a matter of us being very intentional with our interrogation, but also very purposeful with our intention and our actions. Figuring out the questions, asking the what, and then asking, well, why haven't we done it? What's holding us back? What's keeping us from doing what we know we need to do?
All right. This is our faith-based session, so can we get an amen to do something, right? All right, excellent. So we want to take it to you guys now for our question and answer time. Oh, you got one. Okay. Earl, hold on. Let me bring you the mic.
Camino, I wanted to ask you, did you have services in English or you only teach services in Spanish? And do you provide services to all or just to the Spanish?
We have services every Sunday at 11 a.m. bilingual, English and Spanish.
I was talking about the different services that you provide to the community, not your
Okay.
faith-based
Sorry.
services. Because you're looking for a lot of services, workforce development services like classes and things.
Yes.
But do you also teach that in English or just in Spanish?
So the thing is, there's a population from, especially from Central America, they are not going to learn English because they say, I can understand, I can do it. So that's why to that population, we try to teach and develop programs in Spanish. So we have other kind of population, educated people coming from universities, and they are looking for another kind of training. And that is when the community partners are here, right? Because we send them. We don't have to develop programs in English because we have all this community here. They have beautiful programs. We only have to refer them.
Do we have any other questions for the panelists?
Thank you all for this session. This is perfect. My name is Brenda Thompson. I'm the VP of Workforce Development for the Urban League. And community partnerships, I'd just like to say briefly that I think it's so important to know what the community partnership, what do you do? I don't know if many people know that at the Urban League, we offer training in HVAC, electrical, CNA. We're also opening the door to other industry-specific training. So I would love to partner with Camino, as well as some of our other community partners. But I think it's really important to know what we do. We have employer partnerships. We are looking to create more employer partnerships because our goal is to train, certify, and place our students. So I think community partnerships are critical, and I'm really excited about this session.
Thank you.
Okay.
On the note of what we do, I just want to uplift myself as a resource in this space. I have over 15 years of experience supporting people to connect with the Hispanic and Latinx population, building programs that are linguistically and culturally authentic and sustaining for the Spanish-speaking community. So as Nora stated, plenty of you have amazing programming. It just needs to be flipped to a culturally competent way to be delivered. I am here to do that. My name is Tierra Mahoney Paulino. My organization is Dual Vida.
Do we have any more questions?
Everybody's thinking about lunch, right? I'm trying to get to the front of that lunch slide. All right. Well, any final reflections from our panelists before we go? Any last words you want to leave anyone with? You good? All right. Excellent. Well, let's get to the front of that lunch line. Thank you guys coming for our Connect the Dots session.
Thank you.